Hi, welcome to my channel. Today is the day. It's finally here. You have a full playlist of axolotls. For my project, I'll be using this mold from Resin. This is a very cute axolotl mold, and I want to make it look like that. That is chalkware from typically the 50s and 60s, and I have the fish that are circled on my wall. I want to create an axolotl that looks a little bit like chalkware and has the bubbles to go with it. You'll get to see those pictures at the end. It turns out so cute. I'm starting by dusting parts of the mold with a very bright pink mica powder. This is from an Arteza set that I have, but any pink mica powder would work. I am going to be mimicking one of the albino axolotls. Those are the ones that look pink. If you look at the axolotls, they have the darker pink on their gills and their feet and arms and legs and their tails. So that's what I'm mimicking. In hindsight, it would have been way easier to just try to do this on the figurine itself after it was unmolded, but I didn't know how I could apply it and get a really nice faded outlook. I don't want those harsh lines, so I went with this. Those gills were a gigantic pain in my ass. I had to use that tiny micro brush, and I still didn't get all the areas I wanted to. Plus, because I had mica powder in there, I ended up with some bubbles, and you'll see that later. I fixed it and it's fine, but I'm sure there was an easier way to do this. Now I'm just going through with a water wipe and wiping away areas where I don't want any of the pink powder, but I'm being careful not to get too close to the pink powder parts so that I still have that nice gentle fade out of the color. This is also the hallmark of the chalkware fishes that you saw in the beginning and that I have on my wall, so I'm trying to match that style as well. You didn't get to see it, but my chalkware fish come with little bubbles that you can place on the wall above them, and I definitely want to make some of those, so I'm using this super old Cabochon mold. Excuse all of the staining from alcohol inks over the years, but it's been well loved and it's still going strong. Again, I want to have a nice fade between the pink and the main color of the pour, which incidentally is going to be like an off-white color to match the chalkware. The fish I have are not bright white. They may have been at one time, but these are antiques from the 1960s, so they're not white anymore. They're super kitschy and right up my alley. I actually really love dusting molds with mica powder. I find it soothing and almost like a mindfulness exercise. I really like doing it. I should do it more often. Just not with a mold that has so much detail. The downside to using mica powder dusted in the molds is that you can't use alcohol to get rid of bubbles. And so I can't spray it in the mold ahead of time and then pour the resin. I'm using Resin's Crystal Clear Epoxy regular setting 1:1 epoxy resin, and I'm coloring it with Designer Epoxy's Pearl White pigment. As always, make sure that you stir the crap out of this so you don't have any unmixed mica powder. You don't want those popping up later. Okay, who else here loves Bob? The Grateful Dead and Bob Marley were two staples of my childhood music experience. I pour a little bit in and I'm going to gently squeeze those gills to try to get bubbles out. Give it a little love squeeze. It didn't work very well, in case you were wondering. You'll see when I unmold this thing. And let me tell you, getting this out of the mold was like an MMA championship, and I lost. It's the first time I have been bested by a mold. I definitely want to make more of these axolotls, but I'm frankly scared to death to unmold them. I've been traumatized. Now it's time to pour the bubbles. I had barely enough left. I clearly didn't measure properly, which is really funny because the Let's Resin mold actually has how much resin you need to use in it, so this should have been a no-brainer, but it's me, so, you know, the brain was not braining. Sorry about the focus. One of these days I'll figure out how to shoot video like a professional. Here I am, popping bubbles. I can use the alcohol after I've already poured it because the parts of the mica powder I would worry about are now covered by resin. This gets covered and this will cure for about 8 hours. And now the fight begins. Let's get ready to rumble! It's not all that exciting to watch, but trust me when I say this took me about 10 minutes. No joke. First, I'm thinking, wow, I hope this mold is super stretchy. But then I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get the part between the gills and the front feet out. It just doesn't want to go. I messed with this for so long. Literally took an injury. I definitely lost this championship. When you go watch the other videos on the playlist, you're going to see several that mention how difficult this is to get out of the mold. It wasn't just me. I tried to give it rosy cheeks with mica powder, but I was totally off on its right cheek. It's got a little bit of a lip on it that I need to address, and it definitely had some bubbles and some mica that was left behind in the gills. You can see where the mica was left behind. Axolotl kiss. You knew that was coming. The bubbles do not give me a fight. Much easier to take out of the mold. I do end up using some UV resin on the back because, as I said, I had just barely enough resin and it wasn't quite flat. The areas of the gills at the ends where they have bubbles didn't have any mica powder. I decided to use some tack-it glue to get the mica to stick. This was an unnecessary step. I could have just dusted it there and it would have stayed, but hindsight, right? Look, if I can make things more difficult for myself, I almost always will. I put just a drop of UV resin over these to round them out and make sure the mica is protected. In the end, you really can't see much of a difference between that part and the parts that didn't have the bubbles. If you look at the chalkware fish, they have sort of really exaggerated cutesy features, including rosy cheeks and typically they're red lips, although the fish that I have black. The idea was to use my alcohol ink markers to make the very exaggerated features, let it sort of stain the resin, and then I would wipe off the excess. I really didn't want it to look like a clown because I'm terrified of clowns, but I did want to have those features there. I think I could have gotten away with just using black for the eye parts, but I wanted to make it harder on myself, so I used blue. Here they are, all finished and ready to hang up. And also, here is my battle scar. 2 weeks later, and now I have a scar to remind me of my battle. Yep, I am indeed using command strips to hang these. I would like to say I have some sort of secret as to why I'm doing it that way. But if I'm being honest, it's that I'm too lazy to get the hammer and the nails out. Seriously though, I will avoid using those whenever possible. We have kind of a lot of artwork, and I am the official artwork hanger. I'm over it. These are the actual fish I have hanging on my wall. They're so cute and kitschy. I love them. And here is my little axolotl. It's so cute up there. I just want to take the time to thank everybody who participated in my collab. This was my very first collaboration that I've hosted, and I'm so proud. Thank you all, and don't forget to go watch all the rest of the videos in the playlist. They're all so great. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, my kitschy cats and kittens, and I'll see you soon.